assaults on enslaved women. Even today, international trade agreements lock the region into disadvantageous Western imposed tariffs that stifle economic growth. And they're not even at war against us. But this is like a war. Tour guides, the UK report continues, will wax lyrical about the gracious lifestyle led by the planter families who lived in these great houses. That's another thing. And I've asked this question on numerous occasions, because when you read the history books, the Caribbean history books about slavery, they refer to the slave masters as planters. Now, I want to ask you a question. If you know someone who can fix electrical wiring in a building, and that same person killed 30 people, kidnapped 40 people, raped 20 women, abused 50 children, committed genocide against the whole town, and is also a thief, would you refer to them as an electrician? Come on, use your brains, people. You've been reading this in the Caribbean history textbook for decades, that the slave owners were planters. What the hell is a planter? So here you have people, they were rapists, they were murderers, they were thieves, they were enslavers, but they planted or owned a plantation, and you calling them planter, and forgetting the murder, forgetting the rape, forgetting the torture, forgetting the genocide. And here we are, Caribbean children writing in our CXC exams, oh, and the planters, come on. This is insane. The article continues, but there is rarely any mention of the armies of enslaved peoples whose forced labor made such living possible, and who are all too often erased from those histories. It is as if islanders attach greater shame to being the descendants of enslaved peoples than the owners of these houses attach to having been the holders of human property. And that is a key point, that the Africans have more shame today in being the descendants of enslaved people than the whites feel shame about owning wealth that they got from enslaving people. And I am saying that the whites should feel more ashamed about being in the possession of wealth that they got from enslaving people, that their forefathers and foremothers would have got from enslaving people, then we should feel ashamed about being the descendants of slaves. But who wrote the education system and made it the other way around? In 1999, the World African Reparations and Repatriation Truth Commission called for the West to pay $777 trillion to Africa within 5 years. In 2004, Lloyd's of London was sued by the descendants of African slaves. The case was not successful, but in Jamaica in 2004, a coalition of Rastafari movements argued that European countries formerly involved in the slave trade, especially Britain, should pay £72.5 billion sterling to resettle 500,000 Jamaican Rastafarians back to Africa. The claim was rejected by the British government, which said it could not be held accountable for the wrongs in past centuries. In 2007, Guyana called for European nations to pay reparations for the slave trade. In 2011, Antigua and Barbuda called for reparations at the United Nations, saying that, quote, segregation and violence against people of African descent had impaired their capacity for advancement as nations, communities, and individuals. In 2012, Jamaica revived its reparations commission to consider the question of whether the country should seek an apology or reparations from Britain for its role in the slave trade. And also in 2012, the government of Barbados established a 12-member reparations task force to be responsible for sustaining the local, regional, and international momentum for reparations. Barbados is reportedly currently leading the way in calling for reparations from former colonial powers for the injustices suffered by enslaved Africans and their families. Remember, it was the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, who drafted the 10-point plan of action for CARICOM. Now think on this as well, because we colonize ourselves. Professor Sir Hilary Beckles is a world-renowned scholar of Caribbean history, of African studies. He's a professor of the highest academic qualifications. He was first in line. Think, man. He was first in line to become the head of the University of the West Indies. And one particular Trinidadian politician got a white man from Trinidad who's a businessman, no kind of academic achievement on that level, none whatsoever. But they put a Trinidadian white man, a businessman, Mr. Bermudez, in charge of the University of the West Indies. A Trinidadian politician did that. And Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, who's leading the reparations cause globally to those 5 governments in Europe, he was put in second place. That's like self-colonization. So you have Europe benefiting so much, so much from the rape, torture, genocide, and enslavement of African people. But here they are, fighting economic war against the Russians, freezing bank accounts, seizing assets, because they say that these Russian oligarchs, who aren't even involved in the war, said they benefited from President Putin of Russia. What a thing. So let me open up the telephone lines. 342-0081 and 466-5391. I just wish that someone could have asked the UK Prime Minister in that press conference. Say, okay, I understand what you're saying. All right. So these Russian oligarchs, they benefited from President Putin. But what did you benefit from? Have you considered returning the wealth that you all stole from Africa? Remember, beloved, tomorrow I'm lecturing at the Kwame Ture Center, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. We're going through the key points of the 2022 speech by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, entitled The Swan Song. Caller, good morning.
Good morning to you, Dr. Mohammed.
Good morning, sir.
Doctor, what a beautiful morning in Trinidad. But not just that. Dr. Mohammed, I, Tabakit, bestowed the highest award upon you this morning for Black History. Dr. Mohammed, listen to me, Doctor. In hearing you with the editorial, and as you speak in the mic and inform the entire African diaspora this morning, Doctor, take a bow. Doctor, heavy stuff, Doctor. Dr. Mohammed, let me go. I want to go quickly. Dr. Mohammed, I am not feeling well this morning. I tell you. Not in the sense I'm not really feeling well. But when I heard politicians in this country is saying to my African brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, you are not welcome. This is where Brother Tabakit take off his political cap and tell those politicians, hello, hold up. And I want to say something this morning to all my African brothers, regardless to what is your political affiliation, take off that cap and understand, Doctor, it is sad, I'll tell you. All other races coming in, I am not hearing nothing about voter party. Recently, as recent, with the Venezuelan issue, everybody is saying, let them come in, don't ill-treat them. You have CM coming in here. None of the politicians is kicking up a storm. Chinese coming in by name. You're not hearing voter pardon. And I tell you, Doctor, I keep it real this month. I am saying, I am happy and pleased with you, but permit me to go there. I now make a clarion call to the head of the Emancipation Support Committee to join hands with Dr. Mohammed. I call on NJAC to join hands with him. I'll tell you what. Now the time, this is an attack on the African community in the Caribbean. And I make no apology. And let me say this to these political prostitutes who will be Uncle Toms and who will be House Negro, which I really don't like to use it. I have to this morning, Doctor. Doctor, I am sick to my stomach. And you know why? When other races could put an African in front to discuss this, look, Dr. Mohammed, I want to thank you this morning. And before I take my leave, I call on all conscious-minded African brothers and sisters who's listening this program this morning. Take off your political cap. Attend the Kwame Ture Center. Give support to Dr. Mohammed, because I say him, Doctor, you see this one, we were going to ride it out. I am not allowing Kamla Prasad Visesa and the UNC. I tell you, Doctor, come on, Kamla Prasad Visesa. From 2010 to 2015, you allow all the Indian national and Pakistan to come in here with no visa. And this morning you telling me, Kamla Prasad Visesa, my African brothers and sisters in the Caribbean is not welcome. Well, as I take my leave, I say this to you, Kamla. This is where I draw the back line. Tabakit is saying, more to you and to all the House Negroes who will join with it. Doctor, take a bow. Tabakit give you the highest award for standing for the African community worldwide. Tabakit out and out. God bless you.
Thank you. And at the beginning of the 8 o'clock hour, we are going straight at that topic. A United States of African people within the Caribbean, as we began this morning. But there are a lot of things that we don't know about CARICOM. And I'm not just talking about the general public. There are a lot of people who work at the airport who still don't know about CARICOM and the CSME. Caller, good morning. Just
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Hakim Mohammed. Dr. Mohammed, listening to you, you understand, and sometimes it hurts me, it really hurts me to hear the direction in which our people go when the day come, before the cock crow in the morning, or we are destroying one another. Because I seem to understand, the state that we are in, the position that we are in, what have been done to us, and what they continue to do to us. But it's a sad thing. Before I go to that point, you see how one day your enemy just become your allies? You see what I mean in Venezuela? All of a sudden, Maduro, you understand? Evil, here wicked, here bad, you understand? He's their friend because they want the oil.
Boy.
You understand?
But listen, Aruka, I'm really sorry, but you'll have to call back in the next hour. Yes, sir.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
And you make a song, take my short and you make it long. Keep my feet firmly on the ground. When I'm weak, yeah, you make me strong. So for you know I sing this song. Everybody hands up and sing it with me. We have something special, hey, very special, hey, something special, hey, hey, hey. We have something special, hey, very special, hey, something special, hey, hey. See when I tell you, no doubt. See when I tell you, no doubt.
Looking for a safe and relaxed professional massage therapist and nutritionist? Look no further. Nature's Touch with Empress Judy and Associates offers a natural approach to better health. Treat yourself to a professional massage therapy and nutrition advice in a safe and relaxed atmosphere. Rejuvenate your body, mind, and soul at Nature's Touch Therapy. For an appointment, please call or WhatsApp 1-868-398-8282 or visit our Facebook page. Remember, your health is our responsibility at Nature's Touch.
This is real comedy.
Dan, I want to know what you really doing here. What is I doing here? I'm not Shimano. No.
Major Issues, the tour.
With the Caribbean King of Comedy,
Major Hype.
Do you, Miss Mitzi Renita Brown, take? Yes, me take him. Me take him a long time.
On Saturday, March 26th.
Showtime, 8 p.m. sharp.
At Napa, Port of Spain. Tickets are $350 for a limited time only.
Get yours now at all Cache outlets.
Anton's Gold Rush, Castro's in Arima,
Larry's, Francis Plaza, Chaguanas.
or online at islandytickets.com. Major Hype is on his way to Trinidad.
Well, I just found and give a little one trip.
For a comedy show like you've never experienced.
Backed by Ziggy Rankin and Order.
This is the release you need.
Get your tickets early. All COVID protocols are in place.
For more info, call 779-5755. Brought to you by Cache and Anton's Gold Rush.
Tune into the Street 919 FM this and every Thursday for the program Conscious Talk, where we are at and where we are going with Steve Antoine as regards the land space for the celebration of Emancipation Day every Thursday from 10:25 a.m. to 10:55 a.m. It's Conscious Talk on the Street 919 FM.
Get ready! Pretty British, Brother J, and Ali Berry presents Caribbean Soca Madness Part 1. Drink your water and mind my business. I go drink water and mind my business. Saturday, April 16th at the Onyx venue, 27A Queensway, Bletchley, Milton Keynes, featuring the big band in the business, Iwer George.
Yes, and this is me, Iwer George, the big boss in the business. April 16th, Soca Madness Part 1. Yes, I'm going to be in London. I'm coming to shell it.
Fabulous. You know what I'm saying, yo, London, April 16th, it's all about the Caribbean Soca Madness Part 1. I will be music by DTTP, Rigo Suave, the Stage Guard, Selector G, Survival number 1, and DJ Winks. Tickets available on Eventbrite UK. Early bird tickets, £25 from March 6th. For more info, call Allison at 447588376951. Trini British 447404-050703. And Brother J 447508862718. Saturday, April 16th. Caribbean Soca Madness Part 1. London, it's your turn.
Better vision for your physical eyes, and through the eyes of faith, let healing arise in your mind, body, and spirit. At Natural Heal Ministries, we teach kingdom principles for living that brings the blessing of God to your mind, body, and soul.
NHM Professional Associates are located at number 10 Moody Stewart Street, Monrepos, San Fernando. For more info, contact Dr. Desmond Phillip at NHM on 349-3494.
NHM Professional Associates can be heard live on the Street 919 FM every Saturday from 9:05 to 9:55 a.m.
Blessings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You are invited to listen to the Final Hour broadcast heard every Monday from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. in the morning on the Street 919 FM radio. Hear my mom, Pastor Helen Garcia, and myself, Pastor Valentine Garcia Jr., preach the Word of God to the elderly, youth, and children. We can be contacted at 629-0113 or 623-8444. The church is located at 26 Prince Street in Port of Spain. We look forward to you joining us. God bless you.
As my life I lay it on the altar, as my life.
From the studio to the stage, every Friday between 3 to 4 p.m. right here on the Street 919 FM. Radio you can see. Log on to our Facebook and YouTube so you can see live interviews and performances from some of our very own local superstars. Right here on the street, 919 FM.
Alongside Iwer George presents Soca Come. Featuring the boss himself, Iwer George. Iwer George. The boss man of Soca.
Yo, this is Iwer George, the big boss in the business, and I'm going to be in Grand Cinnamon on the 14th of April, Canada, forward 6 at Coventry.
It's all going down the 14th of April at the Grand Cinnamon Banquet and Convention Center, Toronto, 3895 McNichol Avenue, Toronto, Ontario, 9 p.m. till. Tickets are just $35. Get them now at ticketgateway.com. Hey, so all your link up dynamic crew. It's all about Soca. Come, featuring Iwer George in concert.
Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iwer George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory.
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
So there's a need for brotherhood.
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen. Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
Brotherhood is demanded.
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory. Brotherhood is essential, it is urgent, and it is compulsory. But the time demands brotherhood. Whenever the dominant white society fears for its economic future, racial tensions are always aggravated. The aim of Almighty God is to bring the black man and woman together. The aim of Almighty God is that we, no matter how divided we have been in the past, must experience unity in order to gain the success that we seek and the progress that we desire. There is no way that a divided people can build a future. Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. So there's a need for brotherhood. But if you walk the earth proud and arrogant, you never learn your lesson because you think you already know. And how the hell could you know and be in the shape that we're in? How can there be any brotherhood if there's not even the honoring of a word?
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen. man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen. Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
But the Quran and the Bible bear witness that the heavens and the earth were created with truth.
Black man stand up, black man you better listen.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory. Brotherhood is essential. It is urgent and it is compulsory. I feel that every man that wants to speak should have the right. And if you think you know it better, get on up and get on and do the job. But if you don't know what to do, and all your mouth is able to do is condemn and criticize, but you have no works to show the rightness of your philosophical adherence, then maybe you should rethink your position. Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded.
Welcome back and welcome to the second hour of the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. We're going up to 9 o'clock. Remember, tomorrow morning, beloved family, I'll be lecturing at the Kwame Ture Center from 11 a.m. and we're reviewing the key points of that powerful speech by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan entitled The Swan Song from 2 weeks ago. We're going through it point by point and extracting some supreme wisdom, beloved. So, let's get into a subject here that I teach on fairly often, and a subject that is on our syllabus. It is part of general studies, Caribbean studies, social studies. And I'm talking about the CSME. The CARICOM, Single Market and Economy. I want you to understand something. Politicians may not say it. Some of them may try to hide it, especially those ones that are being controlled by the Caribbean white empowerment circle. But the Caribbean, and in particular, CARICOM, which stands for Caribbean Community, was established initially as a unification forum for people of African descent in the Caribbean. This is a fact. I have a video on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/Black Agenda Project on the 4 founding fathers of CARICOM. The great Michael Manley of Jamaica, Dr. Eric Williams of Trinidad and Tobago, Forbes Burnham of Guyana, the great, and the great Errol Barrow of Barbados. 4 conscious men. 4 men whom by policy considered the plight of the African community in their countries and by extension the Caribbean. Errol Barrow of Barbados was a Pan-Africanist, a conscious black man who challenged America around the time of the Grenada Revolution, called President Ronald Reagan a cowboy in the White House, a lunatic. Even when the Caribbean was being betrayed by some others. Forbes Burnham, who is probably the most demonized politician in the history of the Caribbean. Forbes Burnham of Guyana. All the issues, all the problems, yes, we understand that. It was Forbes Burnham who is the brainchild of Carifesta, where he wanted a Caribbean festival of African culture. And with his policies, feed, clothe, and house every Guyanese. But they called that man racist so much, not only in Guyana, but in Trinidad as well. Dr. Eric Williams, well, you know his stance on black power. Yes, I know all of the issues. But Dr. Eric Williams connected Trinidad and Tobago to Africa with his tour in 1964 throughout Africa, when Bustamante of Jamaica went through Central America. And Michael Manley of Jamaica introduced a kind of socialism. The CIA tried to kill that man 3 times. And they hired an agent who became Prime Minister, Edward Seaga, to combat Michael Manley and his policies of consciousness. And it was those 4 men that came together and started CARICOM at the Treaty of Chaguaramas, July 4th, 1973. Beloved, the Federation of the West Indies was established in 1958. 10 English-speaking Caribbean nations, but we were all colonies at the time. Then it collapsed, made way for the independence of Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago, and later Barbados and Guyana in 1966. But then CARIFTA, the Caribbean Free Trade Area, was established in 1968. And I want you to think on this. Think. Just use your brain on this one. If you don't believe what I'm saying about CARICOM being based on an idea of a United States of African people within the Caribbean, why is Guyana and why is Belize members of CARICOM? Stop right there. Use your brain. Guyana is in the midst of Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay. Guyana is on the same continent as Chile, Peru, Ecuador. And look at Belize. How come Belize is a member of CARICOM? Belize is in the same zone as Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Honduras, Costa Rica, Panama. So how come Belize in Central America and Guyana in South America are part of the Caribbean community? No other reason but they are English-speaking countries of African people. And particularly because they are countries of predominantly African people. Not just English-speaking, because look at Suriname, also on the South American continent. They don't speak English as their first language, but they're a member of CARICOM. Why? Because they are African people. How come Cuba is not a member of CARICOM? They're not predominantly African. So you have other non-English speaking countries, but all of the member states are predominantly African people. Haiti, a CARICOM member, speaks French or what is called Haitian Creole. Belize speak English and Spanish. Suriname speaks Dutch. And they are all members of CARICOM. So basically, the regions that are predominantly African in the Caribbean basin are the members of CARICOM. And that is the idea behind why CARICOM was formed. Now, in 2006, we established what was called the CSME, the CARICOM Single Market and Economy. And this was an idea to continue to pursue Caribbean regional integration and to unite the economies and markets of participating countries. Right now, did you know, oh, listen, you could go to the airport and just start questioning workers there. See what they say, see what they know. Do you know that the CSM is already established? So right now, as we speak, there is a Caribbean single market. But there is not yet a single economy. We as CARICOM nations are a single market. And we are on the pathway to establishing a single economy. The vision of the CSME is to all of us as Caribbean peoples to have one passport. Well, we already do have that one passport because we have CARICOM passports. But they still discriminating against some of the African Haitians. But persons from all kinds of non-African countries can still come here with more rights and privileges than some of our own African brothers from Haiti. Because they have the same double C on their passport that we do. That is a sickness, beloved. So, one passport, one driver's license, one currency, same dollar to be used all over the Caribbean as one economy. So this idea of the CSME was envisioned in July 1989 in Grenada. What was called the Granance Declaration, the Granance meeting. And the idea was, now remember this is 17 years before it was actually launched. 1989 was envisioned in Grenada among the heads of CARICOM, and then it was launched in 2006. I hope the airport workers are listening. I hope the immigration officers are listening, and the politicians. The idea for the CSME was to allow for unrestricted movement of citizens as visitors, traders, skilled persons, entrepreneurs, or job seekers. This is 1989. The CSME was being implemented through a number of phases, the first being the single market, the CSM. And this was implemented on January the 1st, 2006, with the signing of the document for its implementation by the 6 original member states. The Grand Anse Declaration had 3 key features. 1, deepening economic integration by advancing beyond a common market towards a single market and economy. 2, widening the membership and thereby expanding the economic mass of the Caribbean community. So you had Suriname, who were brought in 1995, and Haiti, that was brought in 2002. Remember, it started off with just 4 countries: Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, Barbados, Guyana. And then Grenada came in, then Antigua came in, then St. Kitts, St. Vincent, St. Lucia came in. So now we have Suriname and Haiti as well. And 3, progressive insertion of the region into the global trading and economic system by strengthening trading links with non-traditional partners. Now listen to this part. This, you know what's it's funny? It's like, gosh, I don't want to bring this up now, but, and I spoke about this on the radio in Grenada last week, the ICCPR, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the government of Trinidad and Tobago signed this document, United Nations document, in December 1978, and it came into force in Trinidad and Tobago in March 1979. The United Nations International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights says that under no circumstances can you force anyone into medical or scientific treatment or experimentation, including taking jabs and injections by law. That was a violation of a United Nations policy. I say that to say this. How is it that all of these governments could sign up to covenants and declarations and agreements and then turn around and spit in the faces of those who drafted those policies that we agreed to? It's the same thing that's happening with CARICOM. Listen. The free movement of skilled persons. Now, hold up, put a bookmark right there. We'll come back to that term, skilled persons. The free movement of skilled persons arises from an agreed CARICOM policy that was originally separate but related to the original protocol number 2 of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. And by the way, I am reading from my book, Black Studies, The Black Book Mind Revolution, in chapter 3 on Caribbean studies. So if you don't already have it, get it. The free movement of skilled persons, I said we're going to come back to that, arises from an agreed CARICOM policy that was originally separate but related to the original protocol number 2 of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. The agreed policy, called the Caribbean Community Free Movement of Persons Act, for the airport workers that didn't hear it, and the politicians who are opposed to our family coming here, the Caribbean Community Free Movement of Persons Act is now enacted legislation in all the CSME member states. This is law. In all 15 CARICOM countries. What, you trying to tell me you don't believe that this exists? The Caribbean Community Free Movement of Persons Act is enacted legislation by the government of every CARICOM country. It provides for the free movement of certain categories of skilled labor, but according to the policy, there is to be eventual free movement of all persons. All persons. Now, about 3 years ago, we took a step closer where meeting in Trinidad was Dr. Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, and Mia Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados, who at a press conference held in Port of Spain, Trinidad, representing CARICOM, it was announced that the criteria of skilled persons has been broadened. And it basically fits the profile of anyone seeking employment. And the last category that they mentioned at that particular press conference, this was about 3 years ago, were hairdressers, barbers, and beauticians, including nail tech persons. I guess they're called nail technicians, right? So look, if you're a nail technician and you live in St. Vincent, and it's your intention to come to Trinidad to work, you are free to do so just as much as a Trinidadian traveling from Port of Spain to San Fernando. If you are a barber and you live in Grenada, you have the right to come to Trinidad to work just as much as anyone in Trinidad traveling from Diego Martin to Arima. If you are a laborer and you're in Jamaica and you're coming here to work, you have just as much right as any Trinidadian traveling from Chaguanas to Point Fortin. This is law in all 15 CARICOM countries. Challenge what I'm saying. Under the legislation, persons within these categories can qualify for skills certificates, which allow for the free movement across the region. But now, again, that category has been broadened since 3 or 4 years ago. Since the start of the CSM, the Caribbean Single Market, which is January 1st, 2006, 8 categories of CARICOM nationals have been eligible for free movement throughout the CSME without the need for work permits. You don't need a work permit. Now, we, for some reason, keep hearing these stories about our people coming in from Jamaica, coming in from Haiti, coming here from St. Vincent, and they're stopped at the airport, asked all kinds of outlandish questions, placed under suspicion, and then sent back. Under whose authority? Under the authority of your basic personal opinion? Listen, I am telling you, every single case of that, where our African brothers and sisters are coming here from other Caribbean countries and they're being sent back, every single case should be a lawsuit. And guess what? Every single case would most likely be a victory. But it's as if some of the people in the airport who make some of these decisions, some of those immigration officers, it is as if they were employed 10 or 20 or 30 years ago. Sorry, more than that. Because this is like 16, but like they were employed 17 or more years ago and just never updated their knowledge on their job. So, you have university graduates. The first people, the first groups of people that were immediately permitted to travel without work permits: university graduates, students, media workers, artists, musicians, sports persons, managers, technical and supervisory staff. They were the first group to be given, and also self-employed persons and service providers. And like I said, they've recently added the nail techs and the barbers and massage therapists and so on. So that more or less encapsulates everyone. Unless you just going somewhere to waste time. You know, it's funny. It's the white people who are coming in who are not coming to work, not students, not self-employed in the Caribbean, not managers within the Caribbean or supervisory staff. They just come and have a good time, drink, lime, go to the parties, and they're the ones who are being let in without any hassle. But your own people who by law must be let through our borders are being hassled and harassed. I have some stories that I could tell on this. And the Venezuelans coming in, I mean, I welcome all people. I don't discriminate like that. But the way that the Venezuelans were letting you'll swear that the CSME was written for Venezuela, but not for other Caribbean countries. In addition, the spouses and immediate dependent family members of these nationals will also be exempt from work permit requirements. Do you know how many cases there are of Africans from Africa who got married in Trinidad and are in these detention centers? It's sick. And what made me laugh as well this week, under the last government, okay, so they loosened up visa restrictions for Indians and Russians. The general perception was, well, the Russians were just a smokescreen to, of course, try to more Indianize CARICOM. That's not a secret. Because political representatives of the Indian community have always opposed the idea of CARICOM. Remember, it was Trinidad, the DLP, that voted against the Federation of the West Indies. 6-4. So there has been this perception that CARICOM in some way would marginalize the Indian community. So they've been hostile against it. Remember that famous statement, February 2005, by then leader of the opposition, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, who openly stated, we are not supporting the CCJ, the CARICOM Court of Justice, because there are no Indians on the panel. Let's just be real, frank, and open. See, there are no Indians on the panel, we're not going to support it. Just like in 1958, the DLP's view was, this is an assembly of countries of people of African descent. We in Trinidad and Guyana are not supporting it. But the sad thing about the CCJ, CARICOM Court of Justice, it's like the PNM not supporting it either. Because it's still not the final court of appeal for us in Trinidad. The headquarters is in Trinidad. How do you explain that? Can any politician, I'm begging you, explain that to me? That the headquarters of the CARICOM Court of Justice is in Trinidad. It's on Henry Street in Port of Spain, right next door to Iwer Tech. That's the headquarters of a grand regional institution. But even though the headquarters is in Trinidad, it is not our final court of appeal. It's the final court of appeal, to the best of my knowledge, I think, for just 4 CARICOM countries, which are Barbados, Dominica, Guyana, and there's one other country. And you know what makes that story even worse for us? Not only is the headquarters in Trinidad, but there are 4 republics in the Caribbean. 4. Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Dominica, and now Barbados. And each of the other republics are part of the CCJ as their final court of appeal. And that's what you expect, right? The republic's country to lead the way. But we're a republic. We're not in it. And the headquarters is in our country. At the July 2006 CARICOM summit, it was agreed to allow for free movement of 2 more categories of skilled persons, tertiary trained teachers and nurses. That's 17 years ago. Now, I'm not fully up to date on what the latest categories were, but it's just about everyone. It was also agreed that, listen to this, higglers, that's like vendors, artisans, domestic workers, and hospitality workers are added to categories of labor allowed free movement. Look at that. Higglers as vendors, artisans, domestic workers, and hospitality workers. The freedom to live and work throughout CARICOM is granted by the Certificate of Recognition of CARICOM Skills Qualification. And since the ruling of the Shanique Myrie case, who has become a friend of ours over the years, CARICOM governments and immigration authorities have been more mindful, because that case was in Barbados. She was from Jamaica. She went to Barbados. They denied her entry. She sued the government of Barbados, and she won. You know how long ago this was? It's about 10 years now. Jamaican woman went to Barbados. They held her at the airport, treated her like a second-class citizen. She said, "Oh, okay. Y'all pretending y'all don't know about the CSME? Well, let me ensure that you get educated on this." And she won. It wasn't a whole lot, something like $250,000 US. Now, look at Trinidad's airport. Look at how many black people from the Caribbean have been stopped, detained, held overnight, and sent back for no good reason. If you're coming here to sell drugs or traffic guns or commit crime, then by all means, it's justified in not letting you in. But all these innocent people, especially those who are married to Trinidadians, so it is intended that the CSME will have a single currency. As it stands, a number of the CSME members are already in a currency union. I don't know why we are not using the Eastern Caribbean dollar, the EC dollar. EC dollar is like 3 to 1 US. Our dollar is 7 to 1 US. Jamaican dollar is 125 to 1 US. And the Guyanese dollar is 210 to 1 US. So the Eastern Caribbean dollar, 3 to 1, has been like that for years, although our currency has shown over the last couple of decades that it's fairly strong because it hasn't been depreciating and like being devalued like some others. So there is the EC dollar. And one of the institutions and regimes created to give life to the regional integration movement through the revised Treaty of CARICOM is the CDF, the CARICOM Development Fund. It forms a critical part of the community's aim for equitable engagement among its member states. The idea for the CARICOM Development Fund was borrowed sustainability from a similar mechanism successfully employed, which is the European Union. Now, just before I open back up the line, let's talk about this CCJ. The Caribbean Court of Justice. It is the judicial institution of CARICOM. Established 21 years ago, in 2001, it today rests at 134 Henry Street, Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. And it was the Caribbean Court of Justice that ruled in favor of Shanique Myrie, who sued the government of Barbados for refused entry in 2011. The Caribbean Court of Justice has two jurisdictions, an original jurisdiction and an appellate jurisdiction. Its original jurisdiction, in it, the CCJ interprets and applies the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, July 4, 1973, with those four great pioneers of consciousness in the Caribbean: Dr. Eric Williams of Trinidad and Tobago, Michael Manley of Barbados, Michael Manley of Jamaica, Errol Barrow of Barbados, and Forbes Burnham of Guyana. So the original jurisdiction interprets and applies the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas and is an international court with compulsory and exclusive jurisdiction in respect of the interpretation of the treaty. In its appellate jurisdiction, the CCJ hears appeals as the court of last resort in both civil and criminal matters for those member states which have ceased to allow appeals to the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, the JCPC. How could we? We're independent. We're a republic. But still believe that we have to go to the white man in England to have the final say on our cases. There are some of us in this country who believe so strongly in that system. And as of 2015, 4 countries, Barbados, Belize, Dominica, and Guyana, only have replaced the Privy Council's appellate jurisdiction with the CCJ. I think one other country joined on recently. It might be Antigua. So, this is CARICOM, beloved. This is our region with our family. How dare you try to break up that in the name of what? Petty politics. I don't care about your politics. It's of little interest or concern to me. But you see this? And also, and let me just close by saying this. So I was making the point about why Belize and Guyana and Suriname are members of CARICOM. They're not in the Caribbean region. They're in Central America and South America geographically. But they are African nations by population, so they are parts of CARICOM for that. Look at the September 7th, 2021, first ever Africa CARICOM Summit. And if everything that I just said for the last half hour did not go through your head, then I have a video on YouTube on this as well. Go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Black Agenda Project, and look at my video about the Africa CARICOM Summit, the first ever. And look at the objectives: to reunite and rebuild connections between Africa and the Caribbean, to have direct flights, to have dual citizenship, to open up passageways of trade, to have a skills exchange. Come on, people. Said all of this is in Black Studies, and you can get it on the website www.blackagendaproject.com or at the Kwame Ture Center. All right, so let me open back up the telephone lines. 342-0081 and 466-5391. What's that? Caller. Morning. Can you hear me? Where's that coming from? Wow. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, Brother David.
Yes, good morning.
So correct about no.
Yes, sir.
Keeping us in system command. Especially there. It's time for we to get time for we to leave the US because it's also government for our because for the Caucasian as we never intended to or upliftment of African get real time organize let us use so that we wouldn't have to no one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother. Don't have a clue where this echo is coming from all of a sudden. All right, 342-0081 and 466-5391. And the sad reality of this situation is the fact that there are persons within immigration, within the airports authority, who have arbitrarily been making decisions of who and who should not be allowed to come in the country based on their own personal judgment and perception of someone on the other side of the counter standing right in front of them. And they may look at you, your hairstyle, might have a tattoo, or they don't like how you dress, and they personally become some kind of ignorant judge and then make a decision which is illegal. But just get away with it. But that one case in Barbados, they didn't get away with that one. All right, caller, good morning.
Yes, Brother David.
Yes.
Did you hear the Mark respond to me?
No, I didn't.
He said it is voter pardon.
Oh, Lord, come on.
Yes, that is what he said, because what happened, they can come here and work and they can vote. So it is voter pardon. He's not going to support it.
This idea was established in 1989. But it's our slowness, I guess, as a country and as a region that has taken so long for a lot of these objectives to be realized.
It's sad. It's sad when that is the response you get from Wade. I don't expect anything different, as a matter of fact. You understand? But Brother David, I don't know if you heard about Mali. You understand?
About whom?
Mali.
Oh, the country, yeah.
Yes, and
Timbuktu.
And the history that they have revealed. Oh, you can Google it. Over 40,000 pieces that they have put on display. Brother David, let me go into something. You know, Brother David, what I just said to myself, that the money that Europe have made in the museum by displaying African artifacts and stolen things from Africa, the Africans should be demanding that money be given back to Africa, you know. Because you stole my artifacts, you stole my history, and have it on display and making millions of dollars of it, and I get nothing from it. I think that it's time Africa demand. You see, we need leaders in Africa who could stand up, because you're dealing with a set of people that is wicked people here, evil people you're dealing with here, people whose only agenda is to keep you in subjection, control your economy, and keep you right there. So it is time that we get leaders who could stand up against these people. You need to have it, because you see what's going on in Ukraine and Russia? You see what's happening up there, the kind of sanction they put in on Russia? But David,
yes.
we have to have leaders who must stand up against it and demand, you understand, that we get, you understand, what is our reparation must be paid to us in time to come. I don't think time short because they did a lot this morning. Others will want to get in. Have a good day, my brother.
Thank you, my brother. Well, time is upon us, and we really had to go through that information. Again, we put all of this in Black Studies 7 years ago. The CSME was established, or at least the CSM, more than 15 years ago, 16 years ago. And there's still slowness to fully implement the economy part of the single market. Anyway, tomorrow morning, inshallah, 11 o'clock, I'm lecturing at the Kwame Ture Center. Inviting you to come out. It's going to be a powerful one. But stay tuned to the Street 919 FM. May Almighty God Allah continue to bless you as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
I drink in the daru, lining with the boys. This woman shout out, I make up your voice. From there we start moving, one thing lead to the next. 9 months later, it's back and all I go back. Look where one lash could do. Look where one lash could do. Now she belly high, right up to she throat. Where I go tell me why.